Victory is mine. Victory is mine. Victory today is mine. I told Satan, get thee behind, because victory today is mine. Bear with me, I know I can't sing. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my wife, who is a crown to my head. She is my best friend. I believe that the voters of Jackson vote Lumumba because they know they get 2 for 1. All right? I'd like to thank my sister, who has always stood in the gap for me from the moment I was born, putting her needs aside for her little brother. I appreciate your sacrifice, your hard work, and your advocacy. I thank our entire campaign team, people who have sacrificed hours, days, months, in order to project the real message of what this administration has been about. I thank the residents of Jackson. I thank you beautiful, beautiful people.
That's right. Yeah.
People of understanding, people of intellect and intelligence,
That's right. That's right.
people who are resilient. I want to be clear what this election has been about. This election is about our declaration that we will continue to build an administration based on integrity, resilience, self-determination, and dignity. Yes. We believe that every resident of this city is deserving of their dignity.
That's right.
Moving away from cycles of humiliation. I want to thank you for your confidence in me, your confidence in this administration, your confidence and your hope that we can do better working together. I want to be clear, just as my wife stated, that there is nothing special about me. There is nothing special about us as a family. But what is special is that, one, with the Lord's grace and mercy, His love, and through His divine ability, this city can truly be the jewel that we truly know that it is.
That's right. Yeah.
A city that we understand is pregnant with possibilities. Over the past 4 years, we've been able to achieve things that have not been done ever or in 20 years.
Break it down. Break it down.
I want to thank you for seeing through the nonsense.
Nonsense. Right.
Seeing through the treacherous lies.
Yeah. Speak on it.
I think of the wise words of our father, Rukia, who said that you got to give the people more credit than that.
That's right.
You got to give the people more credit than that. You can't lie to them about what they see.
That's right.
They see an administration which leans on them. When I told you 4 years ago, when I become mayor, you become mayor, we meant it not only as a means to hold us accountable, but also knowing that we would call on you, the residents of this city. Yes, we call on you to build a safer Jackson.
That's right.
A Jackson where we don't see the homicides that we see each and every day, and I have never shied away from answering the consistent time after time after time questions about crime, because we do want to work to build a safer Jackson. We do believe that our residents should be able to go outside of their doors without hearing gunshots. But we also understand that we don't have the ability to solve that problem by ourselves. And so we call on you. We call on you to be a part of what we are building. We are building a city beyond contradiction.
That's right.
A city which recognizes the inherent dignity in every single person and child. And so I'm grateful to the residents of this city. I want you to know that I love you. I want you to know that I will be in that foxhole with you. That we never know what crisis we may encounter. But I believe through our collective genius, we will be able to overcome anything that comes our way. We are going to build an economy which reflects every single resident in this city, which reflects the needs, the desires, the sustainable development goals that we have for our people. We will not rest until we're able to accomplish that. And I will end with the words out of 2 Kings.
Come on.
They that be with us are far greater than they that be against us. For the people who voted for me, I thank you for having trust in this administration. For the people who did not cast a ballot on behalf of this administration, I want to assure you that I will be your mayor too.
Yeah.
That I will fight for you day in and day out. That we are going to still build a city that we can all be proud of.
That's right.
I thank you, I love you, and I'll end with one city, one aim, one destiny. One city, one aim, one destiny. One city, one aim, one destiny. Free the land. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. And we'll take a few questions.
Yes.
Mayor, just talking about how does it feel to know that the people do have trust in you and want to see you serve the second term?
It is, first and foremost, I want to remind our residents, right, that we have to run through the tape. And so I want to make certain that they are there on June 8th for the general election. That's first and foremost. But to answer your question, it is incredibly humbling. It is incredibly humbling, and I thank the residents of this city. And I'm going to take this moment to do what I can't do on many occasions, right? I've had the opportunity to speak with many of you, and I find you to be very fine people in the media, right? But I want to be clear that there is danger in a single narrative. There is danger in a narrative that only reflects and highlights the challenges of our city. When we have positive news, I want to challenge up our media to speak and project those issues too.
That's right. That's right.
I've had resident after resident to say, I didn't know the things that y'all had done, right? They are yearning for that information. And so just as there are challenges that we are not afraid to confront and speak to, there are positive narratives that will uplift us and even give us the encouragement to defeat those challenges that stand before us. And so I thank you going forward in partnership in our ability to be held accountable for the questions that you have, but also in your responsibility to make sure that you carry balanced coverage about what this city is doing. This city has improved its bond rating. This city has paved more miles of road in the last 4 years than the previous 10 years combined. This city has been able to win a settlement challenging failed contracts in order to improve our infrastructure. This city has made a declaration that we want to be in control of our education and build a better city. And so those are things that deserve to be lifted up, just as the negative. just as we deserve to be accountable to the negative. And so I would like to take that moment to say that. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
What do you tackle now in a second term? What is the first thing at the top of your agenda as we get started on a potential second term?
Well, first and foremost, I'll be honest with you that I always cheat on this question, right? And I cheat on this question because there are so many very, very important priorities that we have, right? Obviously, the safety of our residents is important. And so that means that, yes, we understand that there is importance in building a strong law enforcement department, right? One that works in collaboration with the community. But it is also important that we look at the social determinants that affect or lead to the issues of crime. We want to tackle crime at its root. And so we want to cast out the negative. We want to cast out the trauma and despair that many of our residents are facing and figure out how we give them better supports, better youth programs, better mental service programs, better economic programs that support their lives. I also want to make it clear that while prior to COVID-19 that we saw economic development that hadn't happened, few people tell you the story that Hinds County actually outgrew Madison County before the pandemic. And so we want to see that growth, the growth that we see that's taking place on Capitol Street. I remember as a young child when Capitol Street became a ghost land. I remember when businesses left this city, when the hue of the leadership changed. And so as we see almost every building on this street either occupied or developing, I also want to make it clear that we aren't satisfied with that. I won't be satisfied until we see a rising tide lift all boats, inclusive development. And so it doesn't take much other than to demonstrate fiscal responsibility to see investments on Capitol Street and in Fondren. But sometimes people don't believe in what you're building until you build it yourself. And so I'm telling you, Highway 18, we're coming for you. Highway 80, we're coming for you. South Jackson, we're coming for you. West Jackson, we're coming for you. Right? And I say that not because I love one part of our city more than another part of our city, but because I realize that when the residents of West and South Jackson leave our city because they don't get the quality of life they deserve, that ultimately means an increased burden on us all. An increased burden to handle this infrastructure. An increased burden to handle the tax burden. And so we're going to be focused in the areas that have been divested in for quite some time.
I know we still have the general election, but what can people expect from you in your second term?
Well, that's, what I spoke to just a moment ago. But I think that they can expect my continued commitment. They will expect us to always be introspective, to even challenge not only where we think we see wrong in others or failed policies, but to challenge ourselves. I love my work each and every day. I love coming with a team, and I would spend all my time talking about them. I see Halima in the back, my executive assistant. I think about Dr. Omari. I think about all of our department heads. I think about the employees that I call the weebies, right? I call them the weebies because we be here when you be gone, Mayor, right? But you are the foundation of our city. They are the foundation, and I believe that we have to show them dignity in their jobs.
That's right.
So we will continue to fight for them. Just as we ended the furlough this last 4 years. Just as we gave a modest 2% raise. Just as we covered 100% of their health insurance premiums. We will continue to fight for them. But we're also going to call on them to give their very best in the service of our residents. And so you'll see that continued commitment. You'll see a willingness to learn from residents. I want to ask residents to participate in their process. Your work doesn't stop at the ballot box. We have participatory budgeting so that we can better understand what our residents want to see funded. We no longer want to scratch where you're not itching. We want to make certain that what we fund is consistent with your values. Our budget is a moral document, and they deserve to be a part of the formation of what we value and what we put forward.
You're expecting to see 40 some odd $1 million of federal funding that goes to the infrastructure, and maybe a big chunk of the money that's a similar pot that's going to go to Hinds County. When do you expect to see those funds come in? When does the work start on this infrastructure?
In terms of the exact day that those funds come in, I'm uncertain at this moment. It is my understanding that those payments will be broken up in different portions or different tranches of money. And so we look forward to utilizing those resources. There are some immediate needs that we have, but I want to be clear on this point. Just as I have said repeatedly, the city of Jackson needs COVID-related money for our economic recovery, just like every other city in this nation, and we need resources to help deal with our water crisis. And I mean drinking water and wastewater and storm water and the roads and bridges that we have to maintain. And I want to hold accountable everyone who has a responsibility to the residents of this city. Obviously myself, the council, the county, the state, and the federal government. And I'm going to hold you accountable and no longer allow you to punt the football. No longer allow you to drive on or drive narratives against Jackson that suggest that we're not deserving of the same resources that every other city in this state deserves. And an equitable portion of those resources. Not an equal portion, but an equitable portion.
That's right.
A portion which recognizes the sacrifice and the commitment that the city of Jackson shows to the state of Mississippi. And so I'm calling on everyone who has responsibility. And yes, sometimes you see me in the national press, right? And that is only to hold accountable those in this city and this state that have a responsibility to our residents. Because I love our people, and I'm going to fight for our people.
To follow up on that, the state is committing $3 million, far short of the amount of money that you were looking for to come from the state coffers. Lieutenant Governor Hoseman said we didn't have to spend any money on Jackson, thinking the federal dollars would come in, but we gave $3 million.
Well, let me say this. When we think of the words of anybody who has responsibility to this city, we want you to know that we're going to hold you accountable. And we're not going to go away. That we're going to continue to fight for this city. We're going to continue to lift up these issues. And, you know, the $3 million, we will take those resources and utilize them to benefit our infrastructure. But the Lieutenant Governor, the state representatives, the governor, and everyone else who has responsibility to this capital city knows that that is insufficient. And we're going to call out bigotry, and we're going to call out a lack of equitable service to the residents of this city.
What do you think you learned in the last 4 years?
Ah, man. Well, first and foremost, I've learned a lot about the residents of this city. I've learned how resilient they are. I learned how much they love one another. I've seen and probably dealt with more crisis in this administration than any administration in recent history. We've endured 2 winter storms. We've endured a 30-year flood. We've endured a 100-year pandemic. And what all of those challenges have taught me is that the residents of Jackson are resilient and loving and supporting of one another. They're willing to make sacrifices. And so we want to demonstrate to them, continue to demonstrate to them, that this is an administration that is willing to sacrifice on their behalf as well. And so I've learned patience. I've learned to accept wise counsel. I'm becoming better at being quick to listen and slow to speak. And so I would say to the residents of the city that I am not yet the perfect vessel that they deserve, but we are working towards being better each and every day for the residents of our city.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I thank the people of Jackson. Please remember to come out June 8th. June 8th is the general election. Thank you very much. God bless y'all.